Okay, guys, we're back to finishing up this chapter now. This had to be a two-part video, which I'm going to break into two parts because I had an interruption in the middle of it, and I'm going to be editing the other one. But let us continue where we left off. Okay. So Noah opens up the window, right, of the ark. That's where we're at, which he had made. And he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Also, he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. So we got a raven and a dove. Now, if you were to compare these these birds, the raven I think of as a more of a predatorial type bird for some reason. It comes to me as a bird that will, attack, right? To get it's a hunter and a seeker and a hunter, I guess. And the dove in my mind is more docile, kind of more maybe I don't know, maybe eats. I don't know what a dove would eat. Maybe worms. I don't know. Maybe little insects, things like that. But less predatorial, I guess. Like as a raven. Who knows? I don't pretend to know a lot about the animal kingdom, but just observing, just looking at what this says here. Okay, so he's let these two birds out. Okay, it says here though, but the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot. So it was a she that he sent out. And she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. I wonder what happened to the raven. Then he put forth his hand and took her and pulled her in unto the ark, unto him into the ark. So I guess this was a way for him to figure out, there's no place for the dove to rest. But it's interesting, we don't hear of the raven. Let's keep going. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. So again, we don't hear about the raven. 7 days have gone by. We can assume maybe the raven's dead. I don't know. Or maybe the raven's hanging out on the top of the ark somewhere. It's just hunting for fish and lands momentarily and keeps going. I don't know. It's not tame like the dove, I guess. The dove is like going to come back to Noah because it needs maybe the raven is a survivor. It knows how to just still figure it out. I thought I was telling y'all the fish probably are dead too, so I don't even know how the raven's making it. Raven's got to come back for food too, but we don't hear about the raven. Interesting. So after a week, he sends and sent forth a dove, which returned to not again unto him anymore. Okay, so the dove doesn't come back, and it came to pass in the 601st year. So one could assume maybe the dove found no place to land. Oh, wow, this is 601st year in the first month, the first day of the month. I don't know what day, how many years they're counting from, 600 years from. 601st year. 601st year. From what? In the first month, so we're talking January, the first day of the month, New Year's. The waters were dried up from the earth, from off the earth. Also, we're going back now. We went from July, right? 3 months went by to October. You can see the top of the mountains. Another 3 months go by. November, December. Here we are in January. It says waters were dried up from off the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. Okay, so, and in the second month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, so 27th of February, was the earth dried. And God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy sons wives with thee. Okay, so far no one that we can see here is pregnant while having been on the boat for 150 days. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. It's like a great reset here. So all the animals are coming out of the ark and they're ready to go. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth after their kinds, went forth out of the ark. So the other thing we could probably assume too, depending on the location of this Mount Ararat and how another assumption you could have of this, of what the terrain looks like, is that this is, because there is a part in the Bible that says the earth was divided. So maybe at this time was Pangea. Maybe everything was one landmass, and so everything else was the water, right? It's just one major Pangea, or that's what it's called, right? Pangea. So if the animals spread out, because that was the question, if the earth is divided, how these animals get from, Africa to North America to South America. And if it's still, at this point, if the assumption is that it's Pangea at this point, then once they release the animals, it's going to spread all over, before the earth is actually divided up, maybe. It's just a thought. All right. So after all this, every beast and every creepy thing and every fowl and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth after their kinds went forth out of the ark. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So this is why I think another part of the things that the Lord is asking them to do in terms of burnt offerings or sacrifices here. This is why he took the clean beasts and the clean fowl with him, right? So that after they could fulfill this tradition and offer the burnt offering, which is not something that we are definitely not fully made aware of what this tradition is here, because everything we're reading from the creation till now, we hear, I think this is the first mention of some type of burnt offering, which correct me if I'm wrong, I have to go back, but right, I don't remember reading there was an offering made. Oh yeah, there was the one where Cain and Abel were making their offering, and Cain tried to offer his fruits of his field and wasn't accepted, and I think it said something about the firstling of the flock. So we did get a little bit of a window into the tradition, or whatever they were being asked to do, right? As far as a ritual, as far as a ceremony is concerned. And here we're seeing more than just the firstling of a flock that Abel had. We're seeing fowls of the air that are clean, beasts that are clean, and it doesn't really say what these are, but that they're offered up and they're burnt. And I guess that was another thing that they talked about back in, someone was talking about what that signifies, like the smoke going up into the air, going into the heavens, like it's an offering to God, right? It rises to him. Interesting, law of sacrifice here is being spoken about, but we're not necessarily being taught here about what the actual ceremony entails, what the reason for it is, what the full scope of it is. Maybe later on, as we read, we'll find out more, but that's what I'm reading so far. All right, finish this off. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. Okay, so here, like I said, the smoke is going up. And this is all, whether this is symbolic or literal or whatever you want to take it. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Oh, wow. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. So he's talking about just the imagination of man's heart. It's like, it sounds like what God is saying about man is that their natural disposition is evil from when they're young, Interesting. As I have done. So he says he will not do this again. He will not smite the earth and every living thing. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. Earth remaineth, seed time and harvest. cold and heat, summer, winter. So the seasons, days and nights. So everything will go back into their proper order and balance, apparently, from what we're reading here. And now the earth has been reset instead of, technically you could go back, we're all from Adam and Eve, but then actually after this flood, you can say we're all from Noah now because it's like reset. Like those other lines, if you wanted to take it literally, as far as them being gone from the earth, those other lines that would have been born through all these other children are no longer, right? There's one line. It's Noah's. Noah and his family. Now, as to where these lines come from, there might be, that's the survival of the line, maybe, because the line, the DNA line, or the DNA that we know, we share the DNA of both our parents. This would come from the wives of the sons, right? So who knows what lines that DNA was lined up with, going all the way back to Adam, who those lines were. So so whoever those were, whoever the wives are going to be connected to the previous generations in some way that's going to pass down to the next generation. Whether it's different gifts or talents, like one of the wives might be from a line of hunters. Another one might be from a line of musicians. Another one might be from a line of builders. And then when they have their children, they have their lines. You're going to have those gifts sprouting out with those children going, oh hey, I'm going to do this, or I want to make music, or I want to make metal, or whatever, metallurgy, who knows, all that kind of stuff. Interesting thoughts. Again, I'm just reading it as is. That's all this is. I'm not trying to I have ideas, I have thoughts that pop into my head, and I spout those. That's about it. My goal, I told you all from the beginning, I just want to read every single word in the Bible itself from front to back. That's it. I'll get one chapter knocked out every day if we can. If I missed some days because of being sick, or if I miss something, it's going to just be the next day. But either way, it's getting done, guys. It is getting done. Thank you for being on this with me. If you happen to be on with me, it was a good read. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I'm doing it. Talk to y'all later.